I want for Christmas is you. Hello. It is the end of the month, and you know what that means. It is time for a reading update, I think, is what I'm going to call it for the purposes of speaking out loud. Also, my brother stomped really hardly on his floor because his room is right above mine, and the fan is not rattly anymore. It's happened before, but then it got rattly again, but right now it's not. But my bed is a different story. Don't buy your bed frame off Amazon. That is a lesson. So I've written out on a document on here, like, what I've read this month, what I rated them. I also have my Goodreads pulled up so I can see if I wrote a summary, because I wrote summaries for like 2 books. Okay, for the first book that I read this month, it's the first 3 books, and let me just say that these feel like I read them like 3 months ago, because this month has just felt so long with starting college and everything. I'm going to talk about these as a set. This is the complete Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy. The first 2 books I rated 4 stars. I haven't really read any of like these YA romance books ever, so this was my first time reading one of those, and I don't love it, but it could be because I've been reading more like mature adult authors recently. It wasn't awful, but I did get through them in like 1 or 2 days each. I didn't hate them. They did give like that summer vibe. I would go to my little coffee shop in my summer clothes and read them, and I liked it. Like, I did not dislike these books. There's just not much that I can say about them. Will say though, the last book, Will Always Have Summer, made me very mad. I rated it 3 stars on my Goodreads, but honestly, I feel like 2 or 1 would also work. I feel like they completely ruined the characters. I mean, not that the characters were ever great, but she just took something that would have been a great storyline and made it kind of awful. So here's what I wanted to tell you guys, because this is what I wrote on my Goodreads. You can go to my Goodreads, it's at ashlie.rose, and read it for yourself. First of all, I'm really disappointed that Belly had no personal growth throughout the entire series. I feel like she was a better character in the beginning than she was at the end. And I also don't like how she ended up with the person that she did end up with. Like, she had all this development throughout the first 2 books, and then it just all got washed away when I thought that, you know, she was gonna end up with a guy who was clearly right for her. I mean, I'm not the author. I don't know what was going on in the author's head, but if I had written the book, I would not have written it to be the way that she did. She ruined Jeremiah's character in the last book. I did not stand for Jeremiah's slander, and it was awful. She literally made him... I don't know how to, like, say it without spoiling. Just say, skip ahead like 10, 15, 20 seconds if you don't want spoilers for this book, if you are planning on reading it. He cheated on Belly, which doesn't make sense. He would not be the kind of person to cheat on Belly because he's literally been in love with her for years. So I don't understand why she did that, and yeah. Another thing that I wrote on here was that it was really funny how edgy it tried to be with the use of swear words, but still pushes this weird Christian no sex before marriage agenda. It wasn't super obvious at first, but then there was a super random biblical allusion, and that was the moment I knew that I was so done with this book. Not in my personal taste to be pushing that kind of like no sex before marriage thing. And I mean, that wasn't something that Belly explicitly believed in the book, but it felt like that was something that the author believed that they were trying to push by putting their main character as like someone that we're supposed to want to be or supposed to root for, as this type of like pure character, of like something a bit more intense for the romance category. So maybe I will look into reading some more like romancy books in the future. The 2 books that I read are from the same author, so I'll talk about them kind of in the same vein, but these are a big improvement over the last books that I talked about. The first one that I read was Daisy Jones and the Six. Now I know I'm really late onto this whole Taylor Jenkins read train, and I'm very glad that I got there eventually because it's so good. I gave this book 5 stars. I believe it made me cry not like intensely, but it did make me cry. And I mean, this book is just amazing. I don't know if I would say it's better than the TV series. I would say it's about neck and neck for me. I really love them both. They both made me cry. I mean, honestly, I can't really explain how good this book is without telling you to read it. If you are my personal friend watching this, I will lend you this book. I think it's life-changing. It took a couple days to read, but I love the way that it's written. It's written like an interview, and wow. I've never read a book that was structured like this, so it was different at first, but I really do like the structure, and it's a lot easier for me to read and focus on it, rather than being like chapter by chapter from a different character's perspective, because sometimes, you know, you get like bored of hearing one character's perspective and you're like, I want to go to the other one, but this is like just sections of different characters' perspectives, and I really loved it. I don't know much about Fleetwood Mac. I know this is based on like the whole Fleetwood Mac situation and the tension between their two lead singers, but I do like Fleetwood Mac's music. I've been listening to it lately. It does give me like a fall vibe. So this book also gave me a fall vibe, and I am almost tempted to buy the audiobook and listen to it, because I've heard that the audiobook is really good and that they have people voicing it. It also makes me want to read the book again. Okay, the next book I read was also by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Again, super late on this train. I gave this one 4 stars because I felt like the writing was a little stiff at some parts, but oh my goodness, this book was amazing. I accidentally spoiled it for myself by like looking up fan art of Evelyn Hugo to like picture her in my mind, but I spoiled it only like a couple of pages before the big like reveal was. Again, I can't like explain it without giving spoilers, but I really love the representation in this book given to a character from both an ethnic minority and like a, you know, I felt represented in this book. It was amazing, and I also just love the whole old Hollywood aesthetic. So yeah, this was an amazing book. Like the last one, I didn't say it for the last one, but I definitely will be rereading these. Do not regret purchasing these, unlike the trilogy. Next book that I read was The Bookshop at Water's End. I think when I made my last video I called it The Bookshop at the Water's End, but it is The Bookshop at Water's End by Patty Callahan Henry, and I gave this one 4 stars. It did sort of give the vibes of that The Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy, but less focused on like romantic relationships and all of that, and more like family relationships, especially between adults and like spouses and then best friends. It was amazing, and there was also like flashbacks from different characters' perspectives. I really liked it. It didn't like change my life per se, but there were a ton of really good quotes in this, and this is the first time I've ever wished that I was like one of those girls who annotates her books, but this is my mom's book, so I can't write in it. There were some really good moments in this book, some really good quotes. I liked the healthy relationships portrayed as well as the unhealthy ones, because it was very clear which ones were meant to be perceived as healthy and which ones were meant to be perceived as unhealthy, unlike The Summer I Turned Pretty. Just to clarify, these are not like super comparable books. I'm just like the idea of a house at the beach that you go to was really the only common theme, but like you keep returning to for your childhood. Yeah, that was really the only common theme, so I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just saying that it took like vibes that were present in that book. It's far superior. I did give it a 4 stars out of 5 instead of a 5 stars out of 5 because it is written by like an older author, and it takes place, I want to say 2000s or 2010s, so a little bit was a little outdated, and it was a little weird to read it because you're like, there's just like some moments where she's talking about social media or technology that I'm like, is that how that works? Is that how that used to work? Is that what that used to be called? So it just felt like a little stiff in some places, but I feel like had I been reading it when it first came out, I would have given it 5 stars. So yeah, the weird like out of time period writing was the only thing that made this weird for me. And the final book that I have here is a kind of a lie. I have not finished this yet, but I am close-ish to finishing it. I'm gonna like finish it tonight before September starts, so I'll be finished it by the time you're seeing this. But this is The Poisons We Drink by Bethany Baptiste. Now book has actually not been released yet. I won a giveaway on Goodreads for this book. The hardcover is coming out on March 5th, 2024. I don't know if that's when the paperback is coming out also, but it has a little seal here that says advanced reader's copy, not for sale. I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but so far I would rate it 4 stars. Again, it's still that kind of like stilted writing style that I don't like. I don't like when writing is stiff, and again, maybe that's because I've been reading like more adult targeted books recently, but I have really wanted to get back into fantasy, especially because fall is coming up, and this like little witchy book was like the perfect way to do that. It's a really unique world building as opposed to other like witch books that you might read, and I really love that, and it focuses a lot on like minority groups. I mean, there's some like intersectionality in the book, and clearly I'm not a super intersectionally minority person. There are some like minority aspects about myself. Clearly I am AFAB, I am queer, I'm like genderqueer too, so yeah. But there was like representation for me specifically in the book, and then there's representation for people that I don't understand as well, that I want to understand better to, you know, be a better person and help to create a better world. And obviously like the best way to learn about that is not through fictional writing, but this was like a fun way. Aside from that, I just love witchy stuff, so if you write any kind of book about witches, I will be enjoying it. And then it's also like takedown of power, which is amazing, and I love it, and there's so much scheming, and I cannot wait to see how it ends. I'll give like an update on my shorts with how I feel about it, especially after the ending, because I feel like this one's gonna end so well. But yeah, 4 stars right now, could be more, could tentatively be a 5 stars, but I don't know. The main character has pink hair, and I just love the color pink. This is all over the place, man. Okay, people. It is September, which means it is officially spooky season. I am going to do, my next video is going to be like getting ready for fall, decorating my room, going like fall shopping, blah blah blah, because once September starts, it is Halloween. So I want to read some more like fantasy things. So I went to Barnes & Noble a couple of weeks ago, and I got the Caraval series. Caraval? I don't know how it's pronounced. They're so pretty and so spooky looking. Look at this. This is Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. I love how this one looks. It's purple and gold and silver. It's so pretty. No clue what these are about. I assume that there's something about like carnivals in here, just based on the aesthetic of the book. But I've heard this is good, so I'm gonna read it. I'm doing so bad at like knowing what books are about. I've just been blind reading them. Yeah, but that's really all I know right now that I'm going to be reading for sure. There are some books that I have that I'm interested in rereading for spooky season because I know that they give me those vibes. But right now we're looking at a more like unstructured month, especially because for the English class that I'm taking, we have to research really in depth one specific topic and historical event. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing, but I'm thinking something like true crime-y, so I will probably be reading some spooky books for that. I'm leaning kind of towards like Jack the Ripper and the White Castle murders right now. Is that what it's called? East Chapel. Whitechapel? Something. Jack the Ripper. So some spooky books about that should be coming. Those will be my more non-fiction, but yeah. This is all that I have like really solidified in my mind right now, but I will post updates when I have them. Friday or Saturday is when things will be coming out, relatively around the same time every week. Keep an eye out on this page for shorts content, obviously, because I will be posting that. I'm trying to get more into posting like shorts content, using more like trending sounds to attract people. So if you are here, if you are watching this long form video, make sure to like it, leave a comment, and subscribe if you are interested in seeing more from me. Check out another video, it all really helps, and I will see you next week. Bye!